Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us again today. I think we have a lot of international folks with us as well as in our, a special Dr. Elise Price-Tobler coming from Sydney at 11 p.m. So sorry that the time zones kind of make it a pain, but we're so glad to have you here. So I know it's the
It's all right.
late
I'm going to
evening
get
for
my
you,
own back
but
next
she's a
year.
trooper. Yeah, she'll get
I'm
even
going to
with
get
me.
my own back next year, Dawn, because you're all going to have jet lag during the 2025 Sydney conference.
I know we're gonna
And
have to
I'll be
come
like,
early.
woo!
Let's go.
You'll all be asleep. I'll be like, get up, get up, get
She
up.
will get even with me. Oh my gosh. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get you started. So, everybody, I know you've heard from Dr. Elise yesterday, and you may have already heard her bio, but I'm going to go ahead and just give a quick summary, and then I'll let her uh, introduce a little bit more about herself and her PhDs and the research studies that she went over yesterday. So Dr. Elise Price-Tobler does have two twin PhD studies in psychology that focus on adult survivors that have suffered or are survivors of severe parental alienation and child psychological abuse. She has 38 years of experience in mental health disabilities, and we co-host a show called the Humanly Possible Channel, and she is in the middle of developing an innovative treatment protocol for for severe parental alienation, or SPA, as you'll hear her talk about in her studies. So she's a clinical psychotherapist and a leading researcher in the field of severe parental alienation. And she has dedicated her career to understanding and supporting survivors of psychological abuse. Her groundbreaking work continues to shape mental health treatments, and like I said, we co-host a couple of shows, but we also have come together to partner on this conference and bring this type of information to the world. So, Elise, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you to,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, so today is going to be a little bit different. Yesterday, I went through my twin study PhD and sort of talked a lot about the adult child survivors of severe child psychological abuse related to parental alienation that I studied in my research, and the best mental health practitioners in the field that I also researched and compared and contrasted all of the data, and then spoke about the results, which are all of that information I actually put into the two books. Which side are they here? So these two books have got pictures of one is us on the last contact visit with my father that I ever had, because I'm not sure if Dawn mentioned this, but I'm also an adult child survivor of severe level parental alienation and abduction. So the picture on my volume one, which is basically my PhD first study, plus all of the anomalous data that I noticed when I was researching, is a picture of my father, my father's brother, and we three kids when we were little on the last contact visit we had with him before we were taken. So I'm just not sure actually if you'll be able to see it there. It's a bit hard to sort of tell. So this was us little kids here. And then later on the front cover here is me with my dad after we reunited after about 23 years apart. So so that's those two things. But before we begin today's conference, yeah, I'm an adult child survivor, and I want to just take a moment to acknowledge the devastation caused by the hurricanes, both Helene, which everybody's still cleaning up all the devastation from, and Milton, which has hit so many people and there are lives lost. And I just want to say the storms will leave deep, lasting scars on families, communities, and individuals, and scars that will take years to heal. Lives have been tragically lost, homes have been destroyed, and so many now face the overwhelming task of rebuilding what was taken from them. So, in moments like these, I want to share that it's easy to feel powerless in the face of such overwhelming devastation. But we must remember that true strength lies in community, in coming together to support one another. So, it's never a sign of weakness to ask for help, nor is it ever a burden to offer it, whether it's through donating resources, giving time, or simply being there to listen. Every action, no matter how small, plays a role in healing and recovery. So I also want to share during, I'm a suicide researcher as well. So we know that after a big event like this, there's often community members who feel quite suicidal and may take their lives. So we want to be on the lookout for our community members who are out there who might be alone, struggling, lost a lot of things, and just maybe feeling overwhelmed and think that taking their life is the way to go. So we've got to keep an eye on everybody out there. So today, alongside addressing these tragedies, our conference also wants to shine a spotlight on another silent crisis affecting our children globally. So child psychological abuse and abduction, that's what we are talking about in day 2 of the conference as well. So many children suffer in silence, particularly in cases of parental abduction, which often leaves them alienated from one parent and entire families, grandparents, uncles, cousins. Like they're basically taken, half of them is removed. So global figures are hard to determine, but millions of children are reported missing. And in the United States alone, over 200,000 children are victims of family abduction every year. And that is a staggering number of children. So in countries like Germany, there's approximately 100,000 children. So with a significant portion due to familial disputes. So through less common non-familial abductions where a child is taken by a stranger, this poses a grave danger and account for a much smaller but critical percentage of missing children. So do you want to talk about our little ribbon that we designed for a moment, Dawn? Do you have a picture of it anywhere? Because we have a child abuse related, child psychological abuse related to parental alienation ribbon that's been designed specifically for the children who are being alienated, the children who are being abducted, the children who are being killed because of familial disputes, and there's a lot of them. So we designed this ribbon taking into consideration the different colors, not just boys and girls, but also the LGBTQIA plus children, adolescents. So we're just going to have a little look at it. Do you want to talk about the ribbon for a moment, Dawn?
Sure. So, like she said, we wanted to have something that represented us. So, in April of each year, April 25th specifically, there's a World Awareness Day for parental alienation. So, it's parental alienation all over the world. And they have their green and blue ribbon specifically for that occasion. And what we wanted to do was not add to or take away from that particular movement, and we wanted to really signify child psychological abuse. So we chose October 10th as World Mental Health Awareness Day. We want to also declare that Child Psychological Abuse Awareness Day. So we wanted to come up with a ribbon that represented this particular part of the family crisis. So as you can see here, the ribbon says child psychological abuse, and then we always say related to parental alienation and abduction, and parental alienation includes family alienation as well. So what I did in working on this design is I wanted to make sure that it fit everybody. Everybody was inclusive as much as we could possibly make it. So I met with some members of the LGBTQ community, and we went through the color schemes to make sure that this wasn't gender specific, it was more neutral. And these colors were the colors that they approved and stated that they did not see gender in these colors. So this is now our official logo. And then the wings represent all of those who are lost, and they could be runaways, abductions, or they could have died by suicide or have been maybe died by parenticide, or no, it's filicide. I get them confused sometimes. But if a parent has actually taken their life. So these wings represent all of those that we don't know where they're at for whatever reason. So we really wanted to encapsulate the entire child demographic in this particular type of form of abuse. So, Elise, do you want to add anything? Did I leave anything out?
Yeah, the wings, we wanted to represent the children who've been killed during domestic disputes, children who've been weaponized and fought over and murdered, and now angel babies. So that's what the wings are for. Yep.
We're speaking for
So,
them. Yep.
Yeah, they're definitely in our hearts today during this conference. And yeah, we want to urge that child abduction is not just a legal issue, it's a child psychological abuse issue, and these children need our advocacy. And by raising awareness and taking action, we can help protect vulnerable children from enduring these silent forms of abuse and offer them the chance at a healthier, more secure future. And if you think that a child has been abducted, or you live in a neighborhood where a child it's suspicious, they don't have the other parent around, they're often kept enclosed behind the doors a lot, you don't see them very much in public. I'm just describing us as children. We were moved a lot, so anytime anything looked as though we were being noticed, or any of the neighbours were noticing anything, we'd be moved. So you've got to keep an eye on community. If a family turns up, there's only one parent and it's very cloak and dagger, that's an alert. We need to be watching for these kind of things. And families that are very transient, they're usually abducted children who are being moved. So that's been my experience. No one ever even noticed. With all the schools we were being moved to, like just all the houses we lived in, no one ever questioned what was going on. So it's it's not okay. So having said that, I want to talk about the two children who I've been speaking about during the conference. And I'm just going to turn off my background for a moment because it's just difficult to see the children. So I'm just going to talk a little bit firstly about TJ. So TJ, this is little TJ. So there's a site called https:// TJ needs dad. So TJNEEDSDAD.com. There's a website dedicated to TJ and the foundation that his father is working on. So this site is dedicated to Tomu, or TJ Kutsukaki, a boy now living in Japan with his Japanese mother, forbidden all contact with his American father since July 30, 2022. The hope is to shed light on children like TJ around the world who are at this very moment forbidden all contact with one loving parent by the other. Countless children abducted by one parent or simply denied contact with the other by virtue of a sometimes corrupt legal system suffer in silence every day. Even some first world nations choose not to enforce international law, specifically the Hague Abduction Convention, to which there were 101 contracting states, including Japan. Japan is perhaps the most notable of all convention partners in terms of its blatant disregard for the treaty. the nation of Japan refuses to honor its participation in the International Convention by deliberately offering no legal mechanisms for enforcement. A Hague ruling in favor of an aggrieved parent is nothing more than a verdict to be ignored by the Japanese government. Now, I'm taking this off the website, so these are not my words. Domestic and international child abduction, denial of legal visitation rights, and parental alienation destroys the lives of parents and children alike. So this is little TJ. So the next little love I'm going to go on to is Rian Toulon. So Tom Toulan's daughter. This is little Rian here. So I've got some more bigger pictures of her here. These are the ones that I showed yesterday. So this is Rian in all the different stages of her life before she was taken. So Rian was unlawfully abducted and is currently illegally being held in Poland. Her father fights for Rian's human rights and his as a father. His daughter remains illegally detained in Poland. And this is really interesting, despite 18 judges and 10 courts ordering her return to the United Kingdom. It is estimated that 2,300 children are missing every day in the United States. Children can become missing for many reasons. The National Incidence Studies of Missing, Abducted, Runaway and Thrown Away Children program identifies 5 categories of episodes that can cause children to become missing. Benign reasons, so just misunderstandings in the family. They've run away or they've been thrown away. They're lost, stranded, or injured. Family abduction and stranger abduction. So I just wanted to highlight Rian because we want her back. If that many courts are ruling saying she needs to come back to the UK and she's still not being brought back, that's a serious problem. So yeah, just the dads are pretty distressed. So yeah, wanted to just talk about that. And then anybody want to say anything at this point? Yeah, Patty.
I just want to share, this is really like, it doesn't apply for everything. And it really is, time is always essential at what I'm going to say. But I did find a loophole for a case that was, it was something serious. But the loophole was to report if you have information on a car. The police will pay more attention to auto theft over child abduction. So if you could, if it's something that, in the heat of the moment, in a day or 2 days of a child being abducted by another parent and you report their car, at least it brings a red flag to those people. Even if the car is really not stolen, if you report it stolen, right? I know it's a hack. It's a hack. It's a reporting hack, but I'm a testament that it actually worked when there was somebody missing, and the police ended up not having to get involved because just declaring that the car was going to be pronounced as auto theft just changed everything. The people decided to, change their mind about the abduction. So I found it to be a hack. And again, this is, rare situations, and of course it has to be within a certain time frame. Like any abduction, it's key. But I do want to bring attention to it because sometimes it's happening in real time, and it's like you feel like you could see them taking them away, let's say, and what do? And if you call police, say, oh, somebody's taking my kid, the father's taking my kid, they don't want to touch that. But you say, oh, the car's being stolen, they're on it. And so it's
How
unfortunate, but
weird.
I know it's unfortunate that they care more about a car being stolen. But this is the hard truth. But hey, if you could use a loophole and a hack in the advantage of saving a kid, why not?
Yeah. Oh, I also wanted to hear from Dawn because I know you've got protocols in place because our compass model, we just want to talk about that for a minute. So we've got all different components that we've both designed that fit together like a jigsaw puzzle, and we call it our compass. And do
Yeah.
you want to talk about that particular piece that fits in here, Dawn?
Okay, so it's very simple. It's the childhood trauma compass. And what it is that we both bring a lot of different perspectives. She has the clinical side, I have the criminal justice side and my cybersecurity side. And I look at a lot of different types and forms of psychological abuse, not just from the parent, but also from online predators, from bullying, from school peers. There's all different types of areas that we can see this psychological type of abuse and how it affects children. However, I will say that the more the psychological abuse is occurring in the home, the more likely they could fall victim to psychological abuse online. That is just an unfortunate thing that we see occurring. And what I try to do is help the parents realize through this predator prevention protocol that I've created to gear up and learn how to protect their children and protect their well being, whether they're at home or online. And when parents get divorced, I am working on a protocol to help change the custody arrangements so that there's an agreement on how they are interacting online. So the child cannot have two sets of rules. They cannot have one set of rules for online behavior at one house and another set of rules for online behavior at another house. They have to have the same rules. That is where I don't care if you hate the other parent, you have to come together to protect that child no matter what. That's the ultimate responsibility you have. You can be divorced, you don't have to talk, but you do have to have the same rules to protect that child from these online predators because, and I say this all the time when I speak about this, they are only one click away from danger. One click. Add in the psychological abuse and the deterioration of their self-confidence and their ability to assess danger and conflict, how to deal with conflict. They're not learning that when they're isolated from the parental nurturing of two loving parents that are putting them first when they're going through a divorce. So it is super important for children to have this extra support these days because we're not talking about just psychological abuse at home. This online psychological abuse is exponential. It's so important that children feel loved, supported, and secure at home. So that's one of the protocols that I work on. We have different communication models, and I'll let Elise describe the SEMPI. I also have an online collaborative family communication model or protocol as well that will help families that don't necessarily, I mean, not all families need help with communication, first of all, let's say that. But there are families that are struggling just to have a conversation with their child. And, a lot of us have our noses in the phone, including parents. So I'm not talking about just kids. Get your nose out of your phone and start paying attention to your kid. These kids
Mm.
need you. They need that nurturing. They need to know that you care more about them than what's on your screen. So these are things that come in these protocols. And the protocol for the communication model helps the family collaborate rather than constantly being just drifting further and further apart. So these are different components of our childhood trauma compass. It's just a bunch of different areas that we try to plug into the overall well-being of children. So if you look at this image here on the screen, this is just our prototype. We're still working to really design the CT compass further. So for now, this is what we have. And the Childhood Trauma, or CT, Compass Rose is a framework for advocacy, research, and solutions. So the CT Compass Rose represents the integration of mental health, cybersecurity, and criminal justice to provide a comprehensive approach to addressing childhood psychological abuse, online safety, and family communication challenges. This model symbolizes guidance, collaboration, and the interconnectedness of the services and research that we bring to families, professionals, and communities. mental health is a huge deal. And I think that the collaboration between that and cybersecurity is going to be massive, because we have to get those two areas combined when we're talking about that online space and when there's all these hidden dangers that are out there. So Elise's contribution being mental health and psychology, as well as many, many others, but her twin PhD studies focused on the adult survivors. And she's developing an experience based insight into the long term mental health impacts of healing pathways. She created the SEMPI social communication model, and that is SEMPI. The SEMPI model is a revolutionary framework designed to foster well balanced conversations. It enables meaningful dialogue across all levels, whether it's between a 5-year-old and a CEO or within families and teams. It guides individuals on how to respond effectively when someone expresses distress, replacing silence or harmful responses with supportive, structured conversations. And then she also brings the suicide prevention advocacy dedicated to promoting awareness and providing tools to prevent self harm, particularly among vulnerable populations. And then my contributions are cybersecurity and criminal justice related for family advocacy. I have the predator prevention protocol, which I talked about a little bit ago, and the child custody arrangement framework, and then the collaborative family communication model that I talked about. And then there's cybersecurity education for families that I also bring to demystify the technology complications or hurdles for parents and teaching them how to safeguard their children's online presence. It helps encourage parents to instill ethical and secure internet practices, especially in the age of AI. And this will help them to be the guiding light for their children's digital experiences in these realms. And then the child psychological abuse of online safety, which I talked about already a little bit ago. So the CT compass in action is more than just a symbol. It's a guide for families, professionals, and organizations. Each point on the compass represents a core service or focus area working together to provide holistic solutions. So, for example, mental health treatment protocols or addressing trauma and fostering healing, cybersecurity strategies for family and child protection, or collaborative communication models, bridging generational and technological gaps, advocacy and education on child psychological abuse and suicide prevention. These are just a few of the areas that we can focus on. But together, these elements form a complete picture addressing the psychological, emotional, and digital safety needs of children and families. So, how we work together is by combining Elisa's mental health expertise and my cybersecurity and criminal justice background. The Compass framework offers unique interdisciplinary approach that bridges gaps between mental health, family advocacy, and technology. Whether it's through speeches, research, or education, the CT Compass helps individual families and professionals navigate complex challenges and find meaningful solutions.
Yeah. So, Dawn, do you have your model? Okay, you've got them. Okay, we're just going to go through the SEMPI social communication model because we use this model. I'm just going to read a little bit about it. So it's the model that we use if you ask someone, are you okay? And they say no. So I had an idea that could change everything. And I wanted to imagine a world where no one waits for help, where no one feels invisible or alone. So I created this model that provides immediate support without long waits for professional help or busy helplines. And all it takes is one friend or loved one by your side. So it's a compassionate, life-saving approach designed to empower you and the community. So children as young as 5 to adults, SEMPI teaches us how to respond when someone says, I'm not okay, and offer the support they need in that crucial moment. So basically, I designed it during my master's degree, and I worked with women experiencing primary homelessness on the streets in Sydney. And these women, often invisible to society, faced severe and persistent mental illness also. A lot of them were also parentally alienated children, so which is really interesting, and they end up on the streets. So I got approval for the research, and this was supported by the Reverend Bill Cruz Foundation here in Ashfield, which feeds, I think, over 5,000 people a day. So this is where the SEMPI social communication model began, and it's free. It's a pay it forward model. It's across the world in, I don't even know how many countries. I know it's in Canada with the police. They distribute it out. I know that in the Philippines, all of the soldiers distribute it out within the communities, the churches, the hospitals. So we use this model because a lot of us who are children of abuse, we don't have voices. We weren't taught to have voices. So this model's very powerful for children who are just living in coercive control and domestic violence situations, such as a lot of the like a lot of the children of PA are. They're not taught. So we use this model, and I'm just going to demonstrate it with Dawn. And if you want to learn it or go and get it, you just go to this website here and just download it. It doesn't cost anything. That's how we get it out across the whole world. And then we just teach it to each other. So basically, SEMPI, here it is here. You just open up the brochure. So you basically, how I've designed this is you just print off the brochure on your end. And then you print off a couple of brochures, and then you take it over to anyone's house in your community that you might think is struggling or might like to have a conversation and might not know how to talk. So we just take it over and we just go, hey, you want to go through the SEMPI model with me? How's your SEMPI? And we teach people how to do it. So basically it starts with sleep. That's what the yellow, the blue is here. So sleep and safety is the first question. It's based on the 5 different needs that we need to have filled to operate and be happy functioning people. So we need the need for sleep and safety, the need for love, empathy, and to matter, which is E for emotion. And then we've got the need for meet your basic survival needs. So then that's M, meet basic survival needs. So food, water, shelter. Then we've got P for physical health. How's your physical health? And I stands for inclusion. So if I go through and I say to Dawn, hey, Dawn, let's do the SEMPI model together. How's your SEMPI going? And she's got the model with her. I can say to her, for example, well, how was your sleep overall in the last night or the last week? And when you started to go to sleep, did any thoughts keep you awake? So usually people are really okay with talking about like how they slept. It's a pretty accepted question within the community, and people aren't worried about talking about that. And, you know, they'll tell you. So how did you sleep, say, last night? Because you did have the hurricane coming through. So how was your sleep, Dawn? And when you started to go to sleep, did any thoughts keep you awake? And do you want to talk about them?
Yeah, so with the hurricane, I slept like an hour or maybe, not very long because every noise I woke up to. And then last night, still the same thing. Every noise or rumbling across the roof kind of alerted me a little bit. So I didn't sleep as good as I could have. So I'm on a lack of sleep right now. And maybe I need some caffeine infusion.
Yeah. Okay, so with the number 3 question is, was there any thoughts that stood out? So now you can see we're really kind of going to tease out something that might be troubling Dawn. So now were there any thoughts that stood out for you, Dawn?
Yeah, it was still windy, and wind will keep me awake because it's kind of freaky when, I've been in Florida I was born here, so I've been through a lot of hurricanes, and I've had tree branches come through the ceiling, and it's just a little probably PTSD carryover from previous experiences when I hear howling wind like that. So it's a little, I think a little fear of what the sounds bring.
Okay. So number 4 is, would you like to speak about these thoughts? So you just did. And then number 5 is, are you feeling safe in the place where you sleep each night?
I do feel safe, and I have to remind myself that I'm not in a older home, which is where a lot of the trouble can happen. It can occur in Florida, where I'm in a cinder block home, and I tell myself this is a much safer place to live and to sleep, and that I'm okay. The wind's not going to blow the wall down or anything like that. So that helps.
Okay, and number 6 question is, are you feeling calm about sleeping, or do you need some extra support?
I think I'm feeling calm now. I might need some over-the-counter sleeping pills tonight so I don't bite someone's head off tomorrow out of lack of sleep.
Okay. Okay, and the next question is, what support do you feel would help you? So this empowers the person to have a voice and think for themselves, and we're not suggesting things, we're just asking questions here. So the person's thinking about, what is it I need? What is it I need? So we're only on S at this point. So we've still got E, M, P, and I to go. So we've basically got 8 questions within each letter, within each need. So, and then the last one is, do you need extra talking time, or do you need to see a healthcare professional? And I'll come with you if you like. So we offer the steps. And sometimes just by talking about, I had a pretty hectic sleep last night, just by talking about that, getting it out, we feel heard. And then we can think about it instead of keeping it all internally. And then with the SEMPI model, a lot of what we'll do is we'll swap it over. So then Dawn would actually ask me the questions. So we're now on the same power level. I'm not just asking her the questions. It's a reciprocal model. So she can ask me the questions and check in with me. So now I'm going to be dropping down to a deeper level conversation. So this is, instead of, are you okay? Like, are you okay? I don't like that question. I think it's a closed question. And I think a lot of people find that really hard to answer. But if we say, how's your senpai? We can go, oh, okay, I know what that model means. My sleep, my emotions, meet my basic needs, my physical health, my inclusion in community. Oh, I'll pick inclusion in community. No one's actually spoken to me for the last week. I'm in a nursing home. I only ever see the nurses, and they're just all working, and no one's coming in to visit me. So it just depends. So this model's designed for every person in the community, no matter whether you're a professional, a lay person, it doesn't matter. It doesn't discriminate against anybody, race, age, religion, nothing. It's designed for every single community member. And once we learn the SEMPI model, it's a first responder model within the community. So we just send these out, and people sit with people in the hospitals, in the jails, everywhere. They just take these with them. And interestingly, all the American soldiers all get this model in their care and welfare packs. So there's a company over there called Good Scrolls who print it all off and send out care and welfare packs and include the model in there. So all the soldiers also ask each other, how's your senpai, who are out there who were in Afghanistan and all those places. They were all getting the model. And because I got sent a whole bunch of photos of the soldiers on the front line all using the model, and I was like, oh my God.
All over the world. Yep.
Yeah. So this is the adults model, and basically, we just keep going through and asking each other, have you had enough to eat and drink today? Do you have enough clothing to keep you warm? Do you feel safe and free to ask for food, water, and clothing? Because some children don't. They don't have that they just don't. Do you have anything else that you'd like to talk about? All sorts of things. Are you feeling upsetting emotions at the moment, crying, withdrawing, unsettled, or just not sure? So we go through, they're very gentle questions. physical health is really important. It's a need. If we don't have our physical health, you can get very, very upset and depressed and feel very isolated. So P is really important. So how's your physical body feeling? Are you noticing any unusual symptoms or pain? Is there an area that stands out? So are you feeling nauseous, headache, leg, for example? If so, are you coping, or do you need some practical support? Do you have any other physical symptoms that you'd like to talk about? Are you feeling well enough, or do you need more support? So we ask these questions. They're very deep, personal questions. And then what sort of support do you feel you would like? So we empower the person to choose for themselves. And do you need extra talking time, or do you want to see a healthcare professional? I'll go with you. So it's just a deeper level conversation. So this is the adults model, if you want to go and have a look at it. And then we've got the children's model, which are all the children's questions.
Elise,
Same again.
Can I add a little bit of something? So I
Sure.
just wanted to point out, before we got too far away from the questions you were asking me, I want everybody to think about how she did not try to assume or interject into my answers at all. She just let me do the talking, and I just used some very simple kind of examples, but these could be any kind of examples. Maybe I'm not sleeping because I'm afraid to sleep in my house by myself, or maybe I'm afraid because who else is sleeping in my house with me? So there's different areas that can pull out more that someone's not going to, for all kinds of reasons, but namely, sometimes it's shame. They're not going to talk about it automatically. But this model can help encourage them where they start to feel safe with the way you're asking the questions. So this is really good in domestic violence situations. It's good for law enforcement. Mental health practitioners and professionals definitely can use this type to, if you have a client that it's really hard to get them to open up and talk, this is a great way to break through that ice. So I just wanted to point out how you didn't answer me. You didn't say, well, why didn't you sleep good? Did you need to, maybe you should have taken some medicine. Why didn't you take any medicine? She didn't do any of that. So that's the important, really important piece. You want to talk about that a little more?
Yeah, these questions are just very gentle questions that allow the person to go in and look at what's happening for them, and then to speak about it. And then we swap over. So then, say, Dawn would ask, do you want to ask Patty or Jeannie or Sasheen, like maybe some of the I for inclusion in community questions, so that they can get a sort of a bit of an idea of what it feels like to be asked these questions. Yeah.
The adult model or the child model?
Maybe do the adult model. But the children's model is awesome because we teach 5-year-olds and up. If I have young kids in here saying, oh, who are 7 and 8, oh, my best friend wants to kill themselves, and I'm like, oh okay, I'll teach you the SEMPI model. Let's do that right now. So because they're like, I don't know what to say to them. So we teach them the model so that they can sit with their friend, and then at the bottom of every single one, would you like an older person to help? And then they can take them to the older person, and they know exactly why. So they're very empowered, these young people now, because of the model.
Yeah, if they're 5 years old or they can read, they can be a first responder.
Correct.
So they just need to know how to read. So do we have a volunteer? Do you want me to ask a couple questions? Patty, can I pick on you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you don't have to get too deep into anything. We just want to give a little bit of a demo on how this works. So I'm come up to you, we're talking, I can see maybe you might be struggling, so I'm going to ask you, how is your senpai? And you don't know necessarily what it is, but sometimes we get into the place where this is repetitive, where we're checking in with them again. So we might be able to say, how's your senpai? So are you feeling part of your community?
Yes.
Yes.
I am feeling part of the community, and I'm very thankful for it, because sometimes you get into your own head and I think you could be your worst enemy. So I think community is really, really important. And this community that we are together right here really is amazing. So I thank you for
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. So are you feeling included and left out or lonely at all? And if you are there any stories behind those feelings?
Well, I'll go a little
It
deep for
might help.
oh, go
It
ahead.
might help if you picture yourself as another person, like who's sitting in a nursing home or in a
Someone you
hospital, or
work
you've
with,
been put
maybe?
into the
Yeah.
mental
Yeah,
health
I was gonna
unit,
go.
or
Yeah, so
you're
for the sake of the conversation, I'll be transparent. And in my entrepreneurship, and this also was an effect with my mother-daughter relationship. I was definitely the soldier. I was definitely a soldier kid, by the way. Yeah, I till the day my mom died, I always definitely wanted to obey her. And even though I always had my own thoughts, and finally at 50, I broke that a little bit, and it disturbed things. But I do feel I have, and still kind of the struggle bus on the entrepreneurship. But when I changed my career path, because I was told what I was, and I did that career, and I did love it, and it wasn't a career I actually chose by myself. Um, and I ended up loving it nonetheless. So I'm happy what I did. I took full advantage of it, and I did great at it, and I developed a beautiful business. But then when I went ahead and started another business completely different. I was not supported by my I'm not speaking about my husband was basically the only one that supported me, but my outside family really did not. Just now in the last couple of weeks, and my mother already passed, they started to a little bit embrace, okay, she's doing this, she's not going away, however, that struggle definitely is a thing. It's a real thing, so that's my answer.
Well, you answered a couple of them, so that was good because I would have asked if the experience was hard or upsetting you, and then if you'd like to talk about it more. But then the next question is, are you feeling settled or do you need some extra support?
Oh, it's settling. Is
It's
that fair?
settling.
It's
Mhm.
settling. It's kind of like the day after the storm. There's still branches to pick up. There's still some cleaning to do. Um, but it's settling. Yeah.
Good. Good. So what sort of support do you feel would help you?
I think the support that helps me is finding your tribe, people that are in the same mindset. And for this, I believe like this tribe, right? We're here to help others. We're really taking that full on. I'm on yesterday when I spoke, I meant to add this feature, but the tribe, I'm helping the adult now. I'm helping the adult. You guys are more helping the children, right?
Mhm.
I'm helping the adult that now they're on their own, and I want them to create a new narrative. So that's where I stand in this tribe. But basically, birds of a feather flock together, and I realized what I do with my with not my there are friends that I'm friends with just because of from school or neighbors or friends of my husband that that we're a group, but I can't bring what I do always to that table. So I got to keep my tribe and what I do, and these struggles that we're talking about with my entrepreneurship. um I'm recognizing it's not for every table, and that's okay. And just finding the people that resonate with what I'm doing, and that feels good. I feel
Good.
welcomed, I feel heard, and I feel like I'm bringing value, which is the most important in walking in my purpose.
So then the last
yeah.
question on this particular, this is under I for inclusion and community, is if you needed extra talking time or if you would like to see a healthcare professional. And so then that conversation would go from that point. So that's just walking through just one of these areas.
And
Yeah.
I want to say that not with this struggle, which I probably could have benefited, but I feel like now that it's settling, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. However, I'm all for finding medical help. I've been there, done that, and I was appreciative of that because I learned. I always walked away a better person and learning from the professionals. So I thank everybody who's ever been a medical therapist or doctor helping those that need it. So thank you, Dr. Elise. Thank you, Sasheen and Dawn and everybody here who is in this journey.
Thank you. Thank you for being my guinea pig.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I just wanted to quickly see, Jeannie, would you mind if I asked you the P for physical health questions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't mind.
Okay, you can make it up, or you can tell the truth in this scenario, but it just when we're asking these questions, honesty is very important when we're using this model. So but this is an example. So how's your physical body feeling, Jeannie?
Physically, I'm feeling well. I am able to move and no issues.
Okay, so you're noticing any unusual symptoms or any pains? Is there an area that stands out? You feeling nausea, for example, headache, leg or arm pain at all?
An occasional headache.
Okay, so if so, are you coping, or do you need some practical support? And do you have any other physical symptoms that you'd like to talk about? Because we ask people, especially people who are sitting in hospital, there is no people coming around to check on you in the hospitals. And even recently, being up in the hospital checking on my cousin, she was so distressed because no one was asking her how she was. They would just come in and they're like, what's your name? What's your date of birth? Here's your medication. And then they'd be out. And she's like, why isn't anyone talking to me? And I took the model in with her and we went through this together. So, so just do you have any other physical symptoms that you would like to talk about? So if you were an elderly person in a nursing home or or a child in the children's hospital. We have these in the children's hospital. So the children go through it and they answer these questions and then they can turn around and ask their carers or parents as well. So, it's a reciprocal, and then we pay the model forward. So once you learn it, you teach it to someone else and then someone else, and it gets out in the community and it's grassroots right through the whole communities right across many, many, many countries. So
I love it. As a person in the nursing home, I'm dizzy when I stand up, if I were to answer your question.
Okay. And then are you feeling well enough, or do you need some more support?
Maybe some more support.
Okay. What sort of support do you feel would help you?
Maybe a nurse's aide or an assistance to walk.
Okay. And do you need some extra talking time, or would you like me to get a healthcare professional or like to come into your room and talk to you? So see, we're like having these conversations with people. So because loneliness is epidemic proportion. Like there's so many lonely people killing themselves, lonely, isolated people, especially now with the hurricanes. And there's going to be a lot of people cut off from all sorts of like medical and all sorts of supplies. So in this point, we've got the SEMPI model that can quickly plug straight into communities and then make the community members the first responders instead of waiting for first responders. Because I know when I was talking to Dawn the other night, she said to me all the emergency services have stopped at this point because the hurricane's about to hit. So what do you do in that situation? You get the SEMPI model out and you check on each other because we can't access anything. So we now come back to our community members, and that's where we start to help. So, and these two models teach children with no voices how to have a voice. It's a ridge, you know, we've got all these people who aren't noticed living in the world, and if we just went up to them and said, how's your senpai, we can have deeper level conversations. And I can tell you now, I've got people who are high level corporate executives on $500,000 sitting across the table from men who are homeless, and they go through the senpai models together, and they've each got stuff to talk about, let me tell you, and then they swap it over and each ask the questions, and then they pay it forward to the next table. So it crosses across all boundaries. And it makes us all the same. We're all human. We're all got the same stuff going on. We just and I go into the city and I do sit down with people who are homeless on the street, and we go through the model together, and then they ask me, and then I leave the models, and then they work with their other buddies who are on the next street corner and the next street corner and the next street corner. Because they'll say to me, I don't get spoken to for a week, 2 weeks. No one talks to me. I'm just the scum in here that people just don't, they just walk past me every day. No one speaks to me. That's why we've just got to reach out and say, how's your senpai? And it works really well with the kids in the schools. They love it. Every morning, a lot of the teachers go, okay, everyone, how's your senpai going? And they'll all answer it. Like, I haven't had breakfast this morning, or I'm really hungry, or I'm really cold, I haven't got enough clothes, or I'm not feeling included. So these kids know the model, so we don't even have to go through it with them. They can answer it like that. So anyway, it's probably time to move on now. So, but thanks everybody for listening.
You still have some time, but we can do Q&A if you want.
Just a quick question regarding the senpai model. Are we allowed to, if you were to provide it to us, can we post that? Or is it a document that needs training first? I mean, like the one up, is it acceptable to be posted?
Yeah, you just go on my website here and download the brochure. And there's lots of instruction videos, and you can just sit there with your friend and each have a model and ask each other questions. It's very simple. I kept it super simple for deeper level conversations, so we all feel heard and all feel seen. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Go ahead, Dawn.
Sorry. Imagine that, you know, someone comes in the room and says, how you doing? And you're like, well, I'm okay. And like, oh, great. So the other day, and they just totally missed the mark, that you kind of sounded like you were struggling there. So when you come in and say, I'm okay, then the first question could be, well, how's your senpai? And that way it kind of sets the tone, and now you know you're in an equal platform situation where you can have a conversation with somebody, and you don't have to answer everything. You don't have to give every detail. That's not the purpose of these questions. It's just to get you to open up to see what you need. And it works great for children when they're struggling and they don't want to talk. You kind of ease them into the conversation, and before you know it, they're talking like Elise was working with the child, and the child told her, my friend wanted to commit suicide. If she asked, do you know anybody that is struggling at school that might want to hurt themselves, that child may not have ever answered that question. But because the way she went in, it opened it up. Go ahead, go ahead.
That little girl, she was actually really struggling with sleep, and because every time she went to go to sleep, she was worried when she went to school the next day her friend would be not there. So going in with the sleep question, is there anything you're thinking about before you go to sleep? She said it straight out, and I went, right, we've got to do something right now. So we were able to bring in that little friend and talk to them in the school and find out what exactly was going on. And guess what? She couldn't see her dad. So that's why she wanted to do it. So I'm like, oh, God, here we are to get another parentally alienated child. But you can sit with the kids at night and go through the model with how's your day? Let's talk about your senpai. What was good about it? Because it's not just a negative model. You can also ask, are you feeling included in community? And they can say, yeah, I'm part of the school group. You know, are you feeling part of the community? Are you feeling included, left out? Nah, I had a great day. It was wonderful. Awesome. Fabulous, you know. Or nah, I'm getting picked on, isolated, bullied, blah, blah, blah. This gives you an opportunity to have that deeper level conversation with your parent. And then they can ask you the questions. I can tell you now, every kid in my family goes into my psychology rooms and they make us, all the adults, they take us in the different rooms and they're like, okay, now how's your senpai? And they like go through all the questions with us and they hold us hostage out there for a few hours. But then they go to school and they know all the questions. So they know all the kids who are in trouble. They can first respond every single day. Dawn, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. It made me think, something you said made me think of the ACEs score. So that's something I think is important to bring in, where you discovered after asking one person questions that took you to the other person, that you realized, oh my gosh, there's family conflict going on at home where this child has not been able to see their dad. So they may be suffering from child psychological abuse or, some kind of crisis. See the discovery that you can figure out what is going on. The ACEs score,
yeah,
and that whole concept is supposed to help identify things that are going on with children. And one of the questions on the score, on the when you take the quiz, is, are your parents divorced? Are you missing a parent? Something along that line. So, and sometimes they're worded differently, so it depends on which one you're looking at it. Sometimes they say, did you lose a parent? But if you've lost a parent, it's not specific to divorce or by them passing on. That's still a traumatic event for the child. So the ACEs score actually does, and the one I took, specify, did your parents divorce or something along the line? I can't even remember off the top of my head. But how important is it that it actually is on that quiz? Do you have a copy of it? Is that what you're looking up?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it because I did, the ACEs score was part of the criteria that I used to identify adult child survivors of severe level psychological abuse in my studies. They had to be a very high level on the ACEs score, so to become part of the study. But yeah, I'll have to have a little look for it. Yeah, how are we going for time? When do we introduce Dr. Stan Carosi?
He can start at 9:20 and go to 10.
Okay.
Yes. So we have about 10 more minutes.
Okay, well, just have a little chat and I'll see if I'll find a little bit more information on the ACEs score so people can understand what we're referring to.
Well, let me look in the, let's see. Okay, Brandy made a comment in the question saying, you should make that a commercial advertisement. Which part did I say, Brandy? You ladies are doing and looking beautiful. Oh my God, you're too sweet.
Oh, Brandy!
Yes. Let me bring her up. Hold on.
We love Brandy. Like, we love Brandy.
We do.
Okay, we'll see if she comes and she wants to talk a little bit more about that or not.
Okay, so I found the ACEs study questions.
Hello.
Hi, Brandy.
Hi. I'm sorry, I was out walking. I didn't know I was going to be on today, so I was.
Oh, you're fine.
I have on my Harry Potter shirt.
Oh, cute. Well, I found about the ACE study questions. So The questions here are a guide to read. So basically, when we're looking at child abuse, what we ask is, before your 18th birthday, did a parent or other adult in the household often or very often swear at you, insult you, put you down, or humiliate you, or act in a way that made you afraid that you might be physically hurt? So if you can identify that, we give you a point for that question. So you can have a point if you identify with that. Number 2, before your 18th birthday, did a parent or other adult in the household often or very often push, grab, slap, or throw something at you, or ever hit you so hard that you had marks or were injured? So if you're a child who identifies with that, you can give yourself another point. Number 3, before your 18th birthday, did an older adult or person at least 5 years older than you ever touch or fondle you, or have you touched their body in a sexual way, or attempt or actually have oral, anal, or vaginal intercourse with you? If that happened, you score yourself another point. Number 4, did you often or very often feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were important or special? Or your family didn't look out for each other, feel close to each other, or support each other? If you identify with that question, you can give yourself another point. Number 5, did you often or very often feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, and had no one to protect you? Or your parents were too drunk or high to take care of you or take you to the doctor if you needed it? Again, score yourself a point. So number 6 is, were your parents ever separated or divorced? And if they were, you get a point. Number 7, was your mother or stepmother often or very often pushed, grabbed, slapped, or had something thrown at her? Or sometimes often or very often kicked, bitten, hit with a fist, or hit with something hard, or ever repeatedly hit over at least a few minutes or threatened with a gun or a knife? Give yourself a point. Now, I would add in there fathers or stepfathers as well, because I deal with a lot of men in domestic violence with very violent women. So this is a bit skewed to women. I think it should be non-gender specific, because DV is both. So number 8, do you live with anyone who was a problem drinker? Did you live with anyone who's a problem drinker or alcoholic, or who used street drugs? Give yourself a point. Was a household member depressed or mentally ill, or did a household member attempt suicide? Did a household member go to prison? Number 10. So depending on that, ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. So this is what we're testing for. So if I have children come in, I'll often do the ACEs test with them. And then I can gauge, okay, where are you sitting? You're sitting at number 2 or 3. Okay, you're sitting at number 8, 9, or 10. We have a lot of work to do about child abuse. So, and a lot of kids, adult kids who've experienced severe child psychological abuse related to PA, they'll score quite high. So I can instantly tell where they're sitting. And the other thing is, kids who score high, or adults who score high, like 7+, they're also very susceptible to a lot of diseases. And the research says that we generally die about 10 years earlier than the rest of the population. So we can shave 10 years off our lives as well. So, yeah, my brother was talking about that last night, actually. He goes, yeah, I fully expect, after what we've been through, and we've got very high ACEs scores, so we're sitting at 9, he's like, yeah, I fully expect to go 10 years earlier than all my friends. He goes, because of what we've been through, it just takes a toll. So, and then we've got the autoimmune diseases that were identified in my studies, and then the anomalous data that potentially lead to different cancers. So there's a lot in this space going on. And that's why we have to train more mental health practitioners and GPs, general practitioners, psychiatrists, not to just look, at the bloody, the basic whatever we're presenting with. They got to look under the hood of the Chevy 357. Just adding that in there. It's my favorite car.
Could I ask a quick question? Yes, that training needs to be definitely, and that was a wonderful, wonderful questionnaire to really get a rapid baseline as to what you're dealing with. What about using that questionnaire in the legal area to have attorneys have that? Can they give that type of a evaluation?
I don't think so, because they're crossing over into mental health, and they're not. That's a different system altogether. Okay. And yeah, they really need to be handing that out to the mental health professionals at that point. If they're seeing things, they could be like, hey, the mental health professionals, let's stream you that way. But they don't a lot of the time. Everyone's still hanging out in family court. And we've got all this stuff going in that's on in that space where they should, a lot of people are in the wrong system. We've got family, we've got legal system crossing over with mental health, and it shouldn't. They should be out of the system and heading out to the practitioners and getting the support, and then coming back to family court. Okay. But it's a mess.
But Dr. Elise, I like the SEMPI, the children's version. Remember yesterday we discussed like how can we get this information to children without hurting them, because a lot of professionals aren't, ready for it. And I'm just thinking, in my area, in my community, I would love to see that in the school systems, because it opens up a dialogue for children to say, just not how are you doing, but to pull out how it's written in the brochure. Like, is there any way? I know people could go to your website, but I'm thinking more on a higher platform. Like, this should be mandated in school systems. Kids could just walk in and see the pamphlet and maybe have that discussion, because I really like that and I haven't seen it.
Yeah, well, no. Well, yeah. You just, the schools either want to adopt it or they don't. The teachers can just easily teach it easy. So, yeah.
So I hate to jump in and change the subject, because it's a great conversation, but we do need to move on so we can keep on schedule, unfortunately. But thank you for sharing the SEMPI model with everybody. I think it is an important thing to get out there, and mental health practitioners, attorneys, police officers, judges, educators, everybody that works around people that could be struggling can use this, from 5 years old to 100 years old. So, and I say 5 years old, but lately kids can read at 4. So maybe a 4-year-old could. Who knows?
Can I just ask Dr. Elise one quick thing, because it's going to be otherwise off topic. With the ACE questions, there was something that was a little triggering. Now, is it, when you're asking these questions, do you ever modify it? Like you said, because like it was aiming towards the men. In the sexual department that you were asking the questions, were you ever touched or whatever? Again, I'm just going to keep it. This is there's a question that you didn't ask if you were exposed to pornography, so maybe never touched, but exposed to pornography and were exposed to sexual acts without actually being touched, because that's also very traumatic.
That's a thing too, and I want to apologize if anyone was triggered by those questions, because in a room, a therapeutic environment, I would be extremely careful asking those questions with someone, and I would go very, very slowly. But today it was just an example of what the ACEs questions are. So if anyone's been triggered, we need to have a little conversation, maybe off the channel, and I can have a talk to you, because these conferences, these questions, these areas, we can have things come through and come up, and we just need to just jump out and have a little debrief. So absolutely, Patty, I'm happy to do that if you want to have a chat with me, and especially while Dr. Stan's talking. And what was I going to say? Yeah, we have to be very careful with the ACEs questions, and we would just basically sometimes go through one at a time. But anything, being exposed to child pornography, even with somebody peering through your window as a child, is a form of sexual abuse. So watching you in the shower, the bedroom, which is what I had with one of my stepfathers. So, because I was like always like, oh God, he's there again. Oh God, he's there again. And then I looked it up, and it is a form of sexual abuse. So being exposed to pornography is as well. So there's all different types. They don't necessarily have to directly hurt us. They can be also peripherally doing it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say also, one of the things that helped kind of confirm for me, it was almost, I don't know, when you do the ACEs score, it just makes you, it confirms maybe any doubts that you had as well. I found that for myself when I first did it, and I was like, how come this isn't always in part of the mental health assessments? So when I redid my assessments, when I work with people, I made sure that I put that in there, and my questions holistically were based on that. So anyway, just for people to know that it does actually kind of validate, when you take that, the things that you went through as a child. So that's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, well said, Sasheen.